Welcome to the Autism Science Foundation's first weekly podcast. I'm Allison Singer, president of the Autism Science Foundation, and we are going to try to do this every week. Here's hoping, and here's what's happening in the world of autism science this week. A new study was published in the journal Nature that suggests that the chemicals oxytocin and serotonin may not be doing their jobs properly in the brains of people with autism. In typically developing brains, these chemicals work together to bring a sense of satisfaction and reward during social interactions. But this study indicated that in the brains of people with autism, this might not be happening properly, resulting in individuals with autism feeling discomfort during social encounters. This work came out of Stanford, and it has some promising implications. For example, understanding better how the brains of individuals with autism react during social engagements would help us gain some insight in terms of helping people with autism feel more at ease during those situations. And one theory, according to the study's author, is that combining oxytocin with a serotonin drug might help do that. Two other studies, one published in Autism Research and the other in Epidemiology, found that girls with autism tended to have smaller heads and smaller bodies than their typically developing peers, while boys with autism tended to have average-sized heads and slightly larger bodies. This is one of those studies that made me think of my own daughter and say, not so much, but we won't go down that road. But early and accelerated head growth have been thought of as common markers for autism in both sexes now for quite some time. But these studies are really shedding some new light on this theory. Head and body size are some of the newest ways that we found that autism affect girls and boys differently, which in general has become an important area of inquiry. I spent some time this week in Washington, D.C. with Stuart Spielman of Autism Speaks, and together we met with some key leaders from the American Academy of Pediatrics and with representatives from over 20 different children's health advocacy groups to talk about strategies for preventing wandering. A study sponsored by the Autism Science Foundation and a consortium of autism advocacy groups, which was published in the journal Pediatrics, showed that 49% of children with autism had attempted to wander at least once after age 4, and that is 4 times the rate of unaffected siblings. 53% of those who eloped were missing long enough to cause concern to their family. And from age 8 to 11, 27% of children with autism wandered, compared to only 1% of their unaffected siblings. In 2012, 25 children with autism died as a result of wandering. By way of comparison, 35 children in the United States died of flu in 2012, and 19 died of whooping cough in 2012. The AAP supports massive campaigns to prevent those deadly diseases, as it should. But our goal in Washington was to encourage the AAP to increase the resources devoted to implementing and supporting wandering prevention as well. Our efforts around wandering involve both prevention and recovery. Of course, we want to prevent as many wandering incidents as possible. So we talked with members of the American Academy of Pediatrics about including information about wandering in what the AAP calls anticipatory guidance, which refers to the conversations doctors routinely have with parents at well-child visits to let them know what's ahead for their children. Only 14% of parents of children with autism reported that they were warned about the potential for wandering by their pediatrician. I know we can do better than that. Parents who are aware of the potential for wandering can take the necessary precautions to make sure that their environment is as safe as possible for their children. We also talked to the AAP about providing more training and awareness material to pediatricians so that they can share that information with their families. Wandering is an issue of life and death. The data about wandering, and all you have to do is open the newspaper and you can see that children with autism are continuing to die from wandering-related incidents. We are committed at the Autism Science Foundation to doing everything we can to reduce wandering and to protect children from as many wandering-related tragedies as possible. Yesterday, I attended a meeting of a group of advocates who are focused on working with pharmaceutical companies to encourage them to develop new medications specifically designed for autism that target core autism symptoms. There is so much promise here. Pharmaceutical companies, for example, have significant resources that they can devote to R&D and drug development, and they are recognizing now that there are targets in the brain that could respond to drug intervention. The deadline is approaching for the Autism Science Foundation Research Mini Grants. These grants are for $5,000, and they are available to funded investigators to help them enhance, expand, or enrich their currently funded grants. And those grants can be funded by any organization, by the Autism Science Foundation, Autism Speaks, the NIH, the CDC. Applications for these grants are due September 30th, 2013. We're also accepting applications for our pre- and postdoctoral training awards. These are $25,000 and $35,000 training grants for work beginning July 2014. And the applications for those grants are due on November 15th. You can learn more about these two grant opportunities on our website, autismsciencefoundation.org. Well, that was our first podcast. My technologically savvy daughter will be very proud of me. Have a great week.